so I apologize to you. But
you don't have. We do not apologize for ball busting here. That's the rule.
I'm just surprised he's on here knowing that the game is coming on. But go ahead, Chris.
Anyway, I'm a little distracted because I can literally hear Deuce woofing down a bag of Doritos
Deuce,
in my ear.
What are you doing? Whatever Deuce is doing.
Get the damn microphone away from your bag of Doritos. I'm tired of hearing it.
So I just talked to Mike Herman the other day. He said he took Jason Uhas out. I don't know which lake they went. Well, I do, obviously, by the pictures. You could tell. I'm just not going to say it. But it looks like they caught a real nice bag of fish. It's cool to see one of our Mayhem guys out with Yellow Dog, and that was his first hybrid ever. Chris, if you could maybe pop a picture of that up, that'd be cool.
I'm pretty sure it was his first in a long time, not his first ever.
Oh, really? I thought he posted it was his first ever. I could be wrong.
Yeah, anyway, he can correct you.
We might get a picture of it up. Yellow Dog Paddle said the fishing is slowing there on the hybrid striper bite. He's moved to Round Valley, but he said the fishing at Round Valley is getting better every week. He's averaging 10 to 15 fish per trip. Crappie, slow. Merrill Creek, he has no report because he hasn't been on it. But he said the smallmouth and hybrid fishing got slow at the one lake. So he's pretty much on Round Valley right now. He's doing really good, 10 to 15 fish, real nice size lake trout. I
think Round Valley is going to have like a very banner fall season this year.
I was excited about his text because we're all fishing there Saturday in the Veterans Tournament, which if you're listening to this is tomorrow. So if Mike said the fishing's that good, 10 to 15 fish per trip, we should be able to at least hook the vets. I just like to get the vets on some fish. Yeah. I'll probably come out of the boat launch and just find Mike and tail his ass and follow him. I mean, realistically, I'll just follow Mike. So, yeah, if you're looking to do some trolling right now, some beautiful weather, and you want to see the fall foliage and the crystal clear water on Round Valley, Yellow Dog Paddle, Mike Herman, he's on fire. Hello and welcome to episode number 71 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago. As always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
What's going on?
We have a lot to talk about. Tonight's guest is Rachel, better known by her Instagram tag, IJW. What is it? JW Marine World, I think?
I have no idea. I just call her Jen's friend.
Yeah, her name's Rachel. She's JW. We'll get her tag. Basically, female angler from New Jersey, fishes from a kayak, does a lot of online paper tournaments, especially for bass. So all our bass lovers will love this guest. But we have stuff to talk about before her. Chris, you went fishing on Merrill. Well, I guess I could say the name. You went fishing on Merrill Creek Reservoir. You took Chuck there. And a pretty unbelievable experience happened.
Yeah, so this is just so nobody gets confused. This happened a while ago. This happened right before I went on vacation. It was literally the Friday before the Saturday morning I was leaving, right? So we didn't, Max and Kevin butchered some episodes in between there, so we weren't around. Luke kind of saved it a little bit, but we still weren't around. Then we came back for one. We completely forgot to mention it. And then last week we were supposed to do the episode live kind of on Fishmonger with Jerry. And that trip got canceled. So it's been a couple weeks. But anyway, Yeah, so
the fishmonger cancellation, which we were supposed to do a live episode from, which was why we had no episode last week. That was heartbreaking. We bought a lot of stuff to prep for the trip, and we were really excited.
Did you actually return the gear you bought back to the...
I didn't return the gear, like the actual hardware, like the fluke balls and stuff. I kept all that stuff, but the gulps and the rubber stuff, I returned it. They took it. Tackle World took it, no problem, which was awesome. I didn't even have a receipt either.
Does that? I don't think it goes bad as long as you don't open that pack. It's vacuum sealed. The gulp. I don't think it goes bad in a year, right?
I told the cashier, I said, listen, I spent $120 something on gulp. My last fluke trip of the year got blown out. Is there any way? He's like, yeah, you got 30 days as long as it's returnable. So they took it back. It was cool. And I kept all the... You know what? I could have returned the fluke hardware too because I don't need it now. But I kept it just because they were so cool about taking the gulp back. I kept all the other stuff I bought just to be
when next year fluke season rolls around, you're just going to buy it again. Why'd you bring it back?
Well, that's a good point, but I don't know. You going to leave it sitting around for a year? I'll go back to the store and get fresh ones.
Nah, mine's going to sit there. But anyway,
it'll be a different color. But with my luck, anyway, I'll spend $120. You'll hit a different color.
I think as long as you don't open it, it stays good. It sits. How long it sits on the shelf sometimes, like those weird colors that nobody uses, they sit there. Nothing happens to them. They're weird colors that don't work.
That's true.
But anyway, yeah. So Chuck wanted to go freshwater fishing, so we went out, and I guess to make a long story short, right? We're fishing. We're catching fish. We're catching some nice fish. It was definitely slower than what I had been doing, which I was kind of pissed about because I wanted him to experience like that crazy action that I'd been having, me and Katie been having out there. It was a little slower, but we figured it out a little bit, and we're catching fish. There's these guys fishing next to us, right? And they weren't really catching much. There was very tight bait balls that we were kind of following, and there wasn't really room for two boats. And, they say something like, joking around like, hey, you guys catching all the fish, like leave some for us or something or whatever, tongue in cheek kind of complaining that they weren't catching a lot of fish. And Chuck sees that the guy's eating a banana, and Chuck just goes off on the guy, like jokingly, but like, he's just like, dude, you're eating a banana. What do you think? Like, if you come close to us, we stop catching fish. Like, just go like all out, just going at the guy. The guy had no idea. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to eat a banana? What are you talking about? He's like, oh my God, it's a bit. And then he's yelling at the guy who owns the boat. He's like, you let him eat a banana on your boat? And they're laughing, whatever. So it's a whole big thing. And then, they move a little bit away, and Chuck's like, yeah, I can't believe that guy's eating a banana. And a little bit later, Chuck hooks into a fish, and this thing just starts screaming drag. And I'm like, oh, Chuck, I think you got something nice. Like, what is it? So the thing takes a jump while I'm doing something on the side, like getting the net out or something. And it jumps, and we didn't really see it. And it was long and slender. He was thinking a pickerel. And it got closer, and I see it's all silver, no doubt. Like, it's a salmon. And I'm like, oh, Chuck, you got a big salmon. He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not a pickerel. It's a big salmon. Like, I got a good look at it when I went under the boat. So the thing comes up, I scoop it in the net, biggest salmon I've ever personally seen. And I'm like, Chuck, that's the biggest salmon I've ever seen. And immediately, I immediately think like we want to release it. So I immediately say, because the water was still warm back then, and we weren't targeting salmon, but I knew like it was a long fight. I'm like, Chuck, if we got to be quick with this fish, take a quick picture and we'll send it off. He's like, yeah, okay, good, come on, sorry. He wanted to release it too. The thing was already dead. I mean, like now that I'm thinking back on it, it didn't even twitch in the net. Like, it was, as soon as it went in the net, it like twitched once, and that was it.
Really?
But anyway,
was it really warm surface temperature?
It was like really warm. Yeah, it was like end of summer surface temps, and like that time of the year where you're not targeting trout and salmon and stuff unless you're going to keep them. I mean,
okay.
But, they don't all die, but it was a long fight. We're using pretty light gear. We're not fishing for a giant salmon, but whatever, take a quick pick. Thing's dead. So I measured it. The thing was 28 inches and like a quarter, 28 and a quarter, maybe a little bit less, somewhere between 28 and 28 and a quarter. I go, take a picture of it on the ruler real quick. He's like, no, don't worry about it. Well, okay. So I'm trying to release this thing. I'm holding it. I'm turning it slowly. It's dead. It's not even. I tried to push it off. I tried to push it down. It came right back up like it's done. So I'm like, Chuck, this fish dead. So Chuck doesn't eat fish. Right? I'm leaving for vacation the next morning, like early.
Does Chuck not eat fish at all?
He told me he doesn't eat fish.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I've offered him like some of the Cape Cod flounder once. He said no. So he said at that time he said he doesn't cook fish. Oh. I'm like, so you don't want it? He's like, no. This time I said, this thing's dead. Like we got to keep it.
Well, he's
like,
never
I don't eat fish.
So he's never caught a keeper in his whole life, so he's not used to cooking anything.
That's true. He's never caught a keeper striper. They're all too big. Back in the day, they used to be keepers. But anyway, so this fish dead. I'm leaving for vacation the next morning. Plus, I don't have a cooler with me because I didn't plan on keeping anything. And I'm just like, shit. So these guys are, close enough. I said, yo, are you guys keeping fish? I'm like, do you want salmon? They're like, oh, yeah, are you serious? Yeah. They're all happy. So we move up, we put it in their net. Oh, thank you. Oh, my God, this thing's big. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. So we go back to fishing, right? And Chuck's like, man, that's a really nice fish. They don't get much bigger than that. I'm like, Chuck, I don't think he was totally sure. I don't know how often he's fished for landlocked salmon in New Jersey. And I'm like, Chuck, that's the biggest one I've ever seen. And he's like, what's the state record? And I'm like, for some reason, I thought it was like in the low teens. I'm like, I don't know, like 12, 13 pounds, something like that, I think. I don't know what I was confusing it with.
A hybrid.
Isn't that like 16 or something?
It is now, but it was in that.
That must have been what I was thinking of. And so he's like, I've held a lot of fish. And like, that was a nice 10-pound fish. I thought, I'm like, oh yeah, I think the state record's like, 12, 13 pounds, whatever. I'm not sure. And he was so basically he's convinced this is a 10-pound fish. And we didn't think anything more of it at that time, right? So I call you. I caught another nice salmon. I caught a nice 23-inch salmon later on. We caught some nice smallmouth, some Lakers. We pounded on the lake trout, which, by the way, released perfectly fine. And I've been telling people this for a while. If you release a lake trout quick when you're jigging them, even in the summer, as long as you release them quick, they go. No problem.
Yeah.
Because they don't fight you at the surface. Like the salmon's fighting at the surface for all that time. A trout's going to do the same thing. If you troll the lake trout in, he's fighting you at the surface because you're bringing him in horizontally, then you're going to have an issue. You fight him straight up and down, vertical jigging, you can release 99% of the fish. I've been doing it for years. But anyway.
So basically, in a nutshell, you and Chuck released the state record salmon. Well, you didn't even release it. You gave it away.
Okay. Chuck Manny gave the probably state record salmon to a guy eating a banana on another boat. And I, because I didn't know till I talked to you and I told you the story. And you're like, dude, the state record salmon's like 8 pounds something.
Yeah, isn't it? It might even be 7.
No, it's 8. Obviously, I looked it up after that. It's 8 pounds, 10 ounces.
You think you had it beat?
Look, I don't know. I don't estimate weights.
Chuck's pretty good at guessing weights.
Chuck has held a lot of fish, and he's pretty good at estimating the weight. He'll hold the striper and say,
that falls on the captain. So Chuck lost out on a state record because you didn't know the records. That's
yeah, I mean, basically. But it's a funny story, I guess.
It is a funny story. It'd be cool if the fish was actually lived. Then you'd be like, well, we released the state record. It's still swimming around, but it died, unfortunately.
It's
someone enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's 100% dead and was probably being eaten with banana chips later that night. And I wished I told Chuck, I said, I hope the guy that we gave it to somehow realizes it and just turns it in as his own.
Oh, he turns it. You see a guy with a banana has the new salmon record.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'd be fine with that because then I'd know. I'd still know. We'd have the
and
story.
You had a scale on the boat too, correct?
A couple of years ago, because Dwayne wouldn't stop bitching and complaining about not knowing the weight of his stupid green slugs on my boat. He
wanted to know bass weight.
He wants to know the bass. You don't have a scale on your boat?
The chubby chasers.
I put just a generic spring scale, like one of those, nothing fancy, but it works. Spring scale on the boat. It was there. It just, our first thought was like that. We wanted to release the fish. And then when it was dead, our only thought was like, well, let's not waste this. Let's give it to the guy. And then plus I didn't know, dude, it is what it is. And when I came back from vacation, I went back there and my buddy that was with me caught another big, nice salmon. And I measured and weighed that one at 25 inches. And it wasn't fat like Chuck's. And it weighed 6 pounds and a little bit on the spring scale.
So you broke it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Right. Well, we did break the other record. We went out with Chuck Saturday morning. I'm working on the video because I already released the first video. The first time I tried it with him, we got to 13 species. We decided to try. Chuck wanted to try this again Saturday.
Well,
he said
that was the second time he tried.
The second time, yeah, we tied it.
It was 13 both times, yeah.
So the weather forecast for Saturday was pretty horrendous. It looked like 4.5 foot seas, pretty much south wind. It was just 25 knot gusts. It was horrible. Chuck said it's the last chance to do this year because he's going to go back to focusing on stripers. He bought a lot of bait. The amount of bait he bought is just so crazy. I'm not even going to say it because I don't even want you to know. But yeah, he went all out to break this, and the weather looked so bad. We didn't even know if we were going to be able to get out where we needed to be, right? But we ended up hitting, I think we hit 10 species right inside the river, didn't we?
Yeah. We started in the dark, and it took a little bit to get going. But and you got to understand, like anyone listening to this, like Chuck has this plan in his head.
He does.
And every part of the plan has like a branching plan B, plan C, plan D. So in his head, he's like, okay, we're going to go here first. We're going to catch a striper and maybe this and that. And if you get a striper quick, then you stay a little bit longer, try to get the next two that he's trying for, whatever it is. Sea bass, oyster cracker, I think this time. We knocked out all three. He's like, okay, the only other species that would be here in this spot, there's a better chance they're in this next spot with the next 3 species or 4 species. And then he moves on. He's very methodical about this plan that he has and like the plans A, B, C, D for each part of it.
And he also has the rods all pre-ready. There's 3 rods ready to go for worming, 3 rods ready to throw bonita spoons. It's all set up and ready. Then there's 3 giant internationals ready for tuna and shark. But we got 10 species inside the river, one of which being a fluke. We didn't expect to get a fluke there at all.
Yeah, we got a couple of bonus fish, which really put us ahead of the game. The tog, too. Nabbed the tog.
Blackfish, yes. And then we ended up running way offshore to try to... We figured it's in the bag now. We're going to get the sharks. We ran way offshore. Not way offshore, but we ran a pretty long ride, probably an hour and a half. No sharks, not even a runoff. We ended up picking up a bonita on that, a couple bonita and bluefish on that trip.
Didn't Chuck corrected you about 1,000 times on the name of that fish?
Bonito. It's a bonito. You can eat it. A bonita you can't eat. That's what Chuck says. But yeah, so we added the bonito out there. I've never actually heard anyone say bonito ever.
Because you don't catch that many of them. They're in years past. The bonito is much rarer than the bonita, which is the false albie.
They're so cool though. The bonito are just really fun. Yeah, and then so we come back into like a typical spot where we were going for one species that he knew that was going to be there, which was the porgy. We ended up getting the porgy. We tied the 13, and then you pulled up.
No. Hold on a second. He already had a porgy from the river. We did catch porgy, but he already had caught one in the river. I'm pretty sure.
So what fish was number 13?
Well, you forgot the part where before we came back into the bay, we went out to another. We came in from not offshore, but we were out there pretty good. We came back into the reef over there because
and he got a sea robin.
He wanted a sea robin, maybe a skate, and we got the sea. Who got the sea robin? You did.
Yeah.
No. I caught one too, but you caught the first one. You caught the sea robin jigging. You were jigging I guess you were jigging for sea robin. I don't know. I don't think you cared what you were just jigging.
I was sea bass jigging, yeah.
Even though we had a bunch of sea bass.
I caught a nice one though.
You did catch a nice sea bass that we thought was going to be something new right off the bat. So we caught the sea robin, and we were fishing for skate. Like I was fishing for skate.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I put a big weight on a bottom rig with the like sloppiest piece of bait that I could find, and I put it down there and I moved it as little as possible, just hoping that a skate would come by. And the wind and the tide were against each other, like terrible fishing conditions for anything.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, this is perfect for skate, Chuck. We got to give some time for a skate. He's like, yeah. We're literally fishing for a skate for that. At that point, we needed the 14th fish. Because you got a bluefish coming out too. So you had 10 in the river, then the bluefish coming out, then the bonito.
Yep.
And then the sea robin. That's Thursday. We tied it there.
Yep.
We still had a little bit of time.
Are you able to say the fish you caught to break the record? Or
yeah, because by the time this comes out, that's going to be over.
Okay.
And anyone who's listening that missed out on this, we gave away some free shirts to whoever could guess what this 14th species was that we ran into to break the old record of 13. If you don't follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you missed that contest. But the species we pulled up, and I'm thinking I'm bringing up another sea bass, and then I see it, and I fling it in the boat, and I'm like, it's a freaking banded rudderfish.
It is a banded rudderfish.
And
breaks the record.
Yeah, and it's a big joke online. Every time someone can't identify a fish, they call it a banded rudderfish as a joke. This was a real one. So everyone thinks I'm joking as this fish is flying through the air until they actually look at it, and it's a freaking banded rudderfish. I'd never even seen one. I've never caught one in person. Never actually caught one.
Now, after we break the record, now Chuck has something in the same spot, send his line screaming. We all get a look at it as it comes off. And it kind of looks like what we thought was a red drum.
Yeah, dude, I really think it was.
Everyone starts taking casts at this one spot, and it's a black drum on. Everyone on the boat got one turn to land a black drum, and the fight was awesome, and it pushed the boat record to 15 now, which Chuck now next year he'll be trying to break 15 fish. And I just want to make it really clear, because it might sound easy. You can watch the YouTube videos on our channel. This new one, the 15 one, will be done eventually, probably in a week. But the 13 one's there. If you actually went out and tried to catch a sea robin, a skate, and a sand shark, it's not that easy. It sounds easy, right, Chris? But it's really not. When Chuck says, "Oh, we have to go catch an oyster cracker," that's not something that, like, I don't have oyster cracker rigs in my bag. I don't know what they eat. It's not something you target. He's just amazing. Like the motivational drive he has to and he's so well known as a striper fisherman, but watching what this guy's able to do on everything else is unbelievable too. Chuck Manny is one of a kind. I haven't seen anything like it. If you ever are offered the opportunity to fish on Chuck Manny's boat, the Tie Man, you should miss your wedding for it, because you just have to go. You can't be like Max and turn him down 4 times.
Yeah, Max skipped his homework assignment that Deuce assigned him to not go. I mean,
I'm gonna guarantee most likely Katie Lynn is gonna end up on the Tie Man before Max does.
Well, I don't think Max is going to get invited anymore.
Yeah, he's banned forever. So Katie Lynn's definitely going to probably go before
Chuck. The last thing Chuck said about him is, "Why does this guy Max hate me? Why won't he fish with me?"
Max is pretty much banned from everywhere. Well, and what other fishing? There was one more fishing we did, didn't we? Or no?
I'm working on our guest. If you got anything else, or else just.
I wanted to talk a little bit about. We know John Grabagranny is very happy because there's been some banning going on of the forward-facing sonar. Future episode coming up is Outlaw Fishing from Instagram. That's Taylor Stewart on Facebook. He's a big tournament bass fisherman.
That's not next week, Joe.
No, I didn't say it's next week. I said it's coming up. But he's a big fan of FFS. So when he comes on, we're going to have that conversation of how he feels about that being banned now in some of these smaller division tournaments. It could be coming to the larger ones. So that is a planned episode. The FFS, I know it's a touchy subject for the guys that own it, and then the guys that don't own it don't really give a shit. I don't really care about it personally myself, because I've watched John Dorn beat it over and over. So I've seen it. I've seen 38 boats go out, and a lot of them have it on there, and John Dorn beats all of them without it. So I don't see it being that necessary.
Yeah, but I mean, I save my opinions for that episode, which, by the way, is September. We're going to record it September 23rd, so it's going to come out September 27th.
Okay. So I also got to talk to Eddie Mackin. If you look on our page and on his page, he got unbelievable footage last week, underwater footage of a school of hybrid striped bass just feasting on herring. If you slow the video down a little bit, you could see the herring running for their life. Did you watch that, Chris?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then it was actually so cool, it caught the attention of John Fallon, who came back up there the next day, and Eddie went back to the same spot with Fallon, and Fallon got a bunch of amazing surface splash pictures of hybrids and underwater shots. So you could see all that on Mackin's Rippin' Lips Fishing Trips pages. Eddie has all that stuff posted. But he is on the hybrids right now. He said the fall patterns are starting. Water temp dropped down to 70 degrees. He said the white perch bite is ridiculous. If you're looking for a pan fishing trip to fill a cooler with nice edible white perch, he said they're, as many as you could take, they're there.
And let me just add this: if you've got this ice fishing scratch that you haven't been able to, or this ice fishing itch that you haven't been able to scratch in a while, bring an ultralight little ice jigging rod with a little jig, and just put little pieces of the bait that he's using on there and drop it into these white perch schools, and you will have a blast. And you'll probably end up hooking a hybrid on it too. That's just going to start screaming out the drag on that little thing. It's a blast. I do it every year when we find the white perch. And if he's on the white perch, I'm telling you, bring your little ice rod.
Well, he's on him. He said it's just ridiculous dropping real white perch.
It's a blast.
He said it seems like the fish moved out into a little bit deeper water. He's finding them around 20 to 30 feet now. He also said that if you're using live herring, he's been doing much better on the smaller herring than the bigger ones. He said Dow's is finally starting to get some real nice size bait in right in the medium range, like the perfect ones that you want. So yeah, and the red eye still available if you have no one to fish with and you're just looking to go fish by yourself. Eddie's ready to go, and he probably has someone else that's ready to go. So call Eddie Mackin's Rippin' Lips fishing trips for the red eye trips, and try to get on that fall hybrid bite with the chicken livers, because it is unbelievable if you get to see that in person. So give Eddie a call. All right, so our next guest is ready to come in. This is RJW Marine World. There's an underscore in there somewhere. She could tell you about that. Rachel, New Jersey fisher gal, angler. Used to be a big tournament angler, isn't anymore. She's going to tell us a little bit about why. And, of course, her favorite fish, we believe, is a ditch pickle, which sucks, but it is what it is. Rachel, welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
Hi, guys. How are you? Thank you so much
Rachel?
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, any friend of Jen's is a friend of ours.
Hey. I don't know. Let's not go there. Let's not say that we're friends just yet.
Yeah,
we got
one of Jen's best friends almost ruined our lives, Chris. Don't forget his steps on.
See? Yeah, you better be careful with that.
That's why
I have an interesting story for how I met Rachel. I was out fishing on the Passaic River a couple years ago with Dwayne, and Dwayne got really far away from me, and I was like by myself in the middle of nowhere. And I see like this girl. There's just a girl in a kayak in the middle of nowhere, and she's got like 19 cameras set up on this kayak. Like there is a camera everywhere. She's got ear pods in her ear. I don't know what I'm saying in my head, she's crazy. Whatever. I'm fishing. All of a sudden, I hook a nice pike, like a 30-inch fish. Dwayne's gone. He's got the net. She is just bobbing around. She's like catching bass and posing for all the cameras and shit, dancing to music. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, screaming.
You forgot your net again, and Dwayne bought his.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So I'm screaming at the top of my lungs for her, because she's the only person I see, and I could see she's got a net. I'm like, please, God, bring the net, please. And eventually she heard me, came over, netted the pike. And netted a second pike, and then like I got to see her whole kayak with all her cameras and shit, and that's how I met her. That was pretty funny.
Okay, now Rachel, now you tell the real story.
All right. So there's 0 cameras, 0 on my kayak.
Okay,
not one. That's true. It's true.
I believe you.
So I did have both earbuds in. Was definitely listening to music, lost in music, right? In my own world, on my kayak.
To drown out the sounds of the little man screaming for you.
Little did I know, yes. But in my own world, listening, and then out of like the corner of my eye, I saw somebody, and I'm like, all right, do I just ignore this person like I do with everybody because I'm fishing and I'm just in my own world and I could care less?
You thought it was a child in need of help, though.
But then I think I took an earbud out at the time, and then I heard Joe say that, he had a fish, he needed a net. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to help somebody out. So I pedal over there, and I was like, I just hope I don't mess this up. I clearly remember saying you were so worried that I was going to not net the pike correctly for him because I didn't want to hit the fish the wrong way and then him lose it and me be the reason why he lost it. And Joe was very kind and polite about it, but I just think I put my earbud back in and went fishing. And maybe the second time, right?
She did. She said goodbye, put her earbud back in, went back to fishing, and as soon as her back was facing me, I hooked the second pike and started screaming again.
He did. And then I will tell you, he was clearly concerned that I was out there as a female by myself with both earbuds in and not really paying attention to what was 100% going on around me. And I will tell you, moving forward from that point on, I only fish with one in, but I always have one in. And when one dies, I put the other one in case I do have to have some kind of phone call. So there was a little bit of a light that shined for me in that moment, but clearly if I wasn't over there, I'm sure the pike would have started spinning, would have dragged Joe. He probably would have lost the fish. But
because Dwayne's useless.
I don't even know if I met Dwayne that day. I don't think I ever saw him. I don't know where he went.
No, he eventually came pedaling back skunked from wherever he went.
This isn't even a big spot that you're fishing. So the best part of the story to me is that Dwayne 100% heard you screaming and didn't give a rat's ass.
No, he.
No, I don't know where he was.
Chris knows the spot that we're talking about, but he went like around and like towards the.
He 100% heard you.
Maybe it's possible. I don't care about Dwayne. I'm done with him anyway. So at that time that I met you, I saw you like catching your bass and you were taking all these different pictures on measuring boards and shit. And I kind of asked you like, what are you doing? And you kind of like explained to me how you were fishing like an online tournament.
Yes.
Which seemed really cool. But now you're saying you no longer do that.
I don't because there was a moment at that same area that I realized that I was losing focus and sight of everything that fishing and water brought to me by doing these tournaments. So I guess it was like months later, I signed up for an online tournament, and I don't read directions. Okay. I don't read anything. I don't read instructions. I just do what I think I'm supposed to do. And that's the end of the story. So I'm catching these 18-inch bass, 19-inch bass, and I'm looking at the leaderboard and my name is not up there. I'm like, why am I not winning? Right. So I come off the water and I look again and all my fish are cold. So I'm like, I don't understand like what just happened here. Did I mess up? Was the mouth not closed? Was it not on the board right? Did I not have the identifier? Well, it was a size specific tournament. So it was only any fish that were between 14 and 16 inches. So I was mad. Okay. I was mad. Right. I was mad. I'm like, I should have won this. And now I'm mad. I'm mad that I caught fish that were 18 to 19 inches where people would have dreamed to do that. So I loaded up my kayak and I sat in the back of my pickup truck. And I had like probably 5 minutes of just thinking to myself, like the fact that I was mad.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden at that very moment, I just said to myself, this is it. I can't do this anymore. I'm mad at catching fish that most people would dream of catching because I didn't win a tournament that was only fish from 14 to 16 inches.
Well, no one told you to enter a slot tournament, just for the record. You entered it.
I did.
That's not the point.
Reading. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
The point of the story, and I get it, because I've almost had these same moments, but with different things.
You're going to have this moment this Saturday.
No, I'm not, because we're just going to, we got Andy still on the boat, and it's just going to be, I'm not going there to catch fish. I'm going there to, like, hang out with Andy still and just, make
He's
jokes.
coming for blood.
But what I was going to say is, and even, dude, think about when we started this podcast, how annoying it was at first.
It still is.
Right. It kind of still is. But look at all we meet so many interesting people and get to fish with them. And that kind of brought it back. But if that didn't happen, like if people didn't like this show and like we weren't meeting cool people and fishing with them and stuff, we'd be in the same boat. We'd be doing something in fishing and wondering why do I not even give a crap about this anymore? When I used to love going fishing, I used to love talking about fishing. Now I have to talk to Joe about fishing, and it's pissing me off.
Joe looks very confused right now.
I'm trying to understand. I get his point. No, I understand. Like I used to just go out fishing. Now I have 19 GoPro batteries. There's a camera on my head, and then I gotta.
Right.
After I'm done fishing, I got to come home and edit video for 18 hours to get a half-hour clip. It sucks.
Right. And if you go too far one direction or the other and you don't keep some kind of balance where you're actually still enjoying it and wanting to go fishing because you enjoy it, you'd be in the same boat where, Rachel, you realized what was happening and kind of just said, oh, screw this. I'm just going to go back to doing fishing the way I want to do it because I like to do it that way.
Yeah. And for me, I say that like fishing and water is the best prescription never written. And I put the N in parentheses because not only was it never written, but it will be forever written. And when I realized that that prescription was being removed from my life, I needed to remove myself from what was taking that away from me. And that was tournament fishing. I don't want to say it became work, but when I do something, I do it at full speed. And I was out there like grinding to win.
Yeah.
And not grinding to re-energize myself. And it needed to stop.
And you kind of, so you take a step back, and then sometimes when you take that step back, you realize you don't want to take that step forward again. You want to be where you're at right there, which is, I'm assuming what happened with you because you didn't start doing the tournament stuff again.
Correct.
And maybe I don't know, maybe that changes in the future, but
now what about live tournaments? Because a lot of these New Jersey clubs, including Round Valley Trout Association, now they have the kayak bass division. There's all kinds of like kayak bass stuff that's not this online shit. It's in person.
And I did that. And I will tell you that the club that I was in, I still am very close with a lot of people. I've actually met one of, if not my best friend, through that club.
Jen Wong?
No.
Oh. No, Jen can't swim.
Have a kayak.
He can't swim. He sinks like a stone. You got to have a 30-foot boat or he ain't going. It's either a 30-foot boat or Jen's fishing from shore. That's it.
That's right.
So true with his waders and his little satchel.
And all his little clips on his belt.
And all his little clips. Yes. But I also in that, so when I was in the club, I was the only female. And I know, Joe, like when you first announced me, you said I think you said female fishermen or all this stuff, right?
Well, I got yelled at the other day by Katie Lynn for saying something. I don't know what you guys want us to call you.
So me, I'm a fisherman. Okay. I'm the youngest of three girls. And to me, we're all fishermen, right? And if you actually look at the word fisherman, which I have a tattoo of on my arm, the middle three letters actually spell the word her. So if you actually look at the word in the right way and take it for what it's worth, there's actually a her within inside of that fisherman. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but you are a fisherman. Like you are part of that world of the water. And that's really the intensity that people should say. I don't want to be identified or classified as a lady angler or a female angler. Like, no, we're all fishermen. There's no need to separate you from me and me from you when it comes to the water. Like we're all one, and we should.
I really like that opinion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Yeah, and to your point, I mean, all mankind. It doesn't mean only men. It's humans. So fishermen.
Yeah.
I usually use the word angler though, because when I say fisherman, I picture
Angler's
like the guys dragging nets in the ocean, scooping fish up. I don't want to be associated with them. But
Rachel, let me ask you this, because we were just talking about this before you came in. Your kayak that you fish with and use mostly, you don't have Panoptics or Live Scope, right?
I don't. I do have a Lowrance, but I don't use it for more than water temperature. And just to see for me, and that's actually for my own knowledge, because I'm the type of person, instead of going out for first light, I want to go out when it's 96 degrees, because everybody says to me, well, you're ridiculous. You're not going to catch a fish. So to prove a point, I go out in the middle of the day and I fish in the middle of the day to try to catch the fish in the middle of the day, just to show people it doesn't matter what time of day you go out, what the temperature is. If you want to fish and you're going to make that effort to fish, you could find the fish.
I'm 100% on board with you. I almost totally stopped fishing sunrise on fresh water unless it's like ice fishing and I want a specific spot and I know a bunch of people are going to try to get there. Just general fishing, freshwater fishing, I'm not going first thing in the morning. It's never really paid off. I think that whole like first light thing is just it's a myth in my mind, just from my own experience.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I feel like it's more crowded at that point because everybody thinks that they're going to catch so much more. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting on when everybody's getting off, so it gives me the freedom and the ability to just go where I want and do what I want, however I want, and for however long I want, instead of worried about, oh, I got to get out there, I have to throw top water, I have to throw this, I have to throw that. No, really, you don't. Like, why not just fish?
Perfect.
Why does it always have to be something, right?
Well, what do you think? If I could ask you this. This is obviously, it's called the multi-species podcast, where one day we bass fish, and then the next day we're black fishing, and then the next week we're doing something else. We often say like New Jersey's one of the most diverse fishing states in the country because of its freshwater stocking program and its saltwater. What makes you just be so obsessed with those green things when there's so many other opportunities?
Dude, I see her catching all kinds of fish. What are you talking about?
Apparently, Chris, you see what I post and you pay attention.
What do you post that I'm missing?
And I mean, hold on. I have to say this, Joe. It must be that hat you're wearing that has you so confused because you're actually wrong.
I saw your first buck. Congratulations on that. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Well, what other species, Chris?
Well, just Rachel, by the way, last time he wore that hat was, I think, the night of or the night before Aaron Rodgers broke his ankle.
I wore this hat on a podcast recording last year on Monday Night Football, and as soon as I shut the podcast off, Rodgers tore his Achilles. So.
Yeah, that's not cool. And actually, ironically enough, I didn't even realize until just now. I mean, I'm making fun of your hat, but I'm not. I am, but I'm not. I'm a Miami fan, so I apologize to you.
There.
But
we do not apologize for ball busting here. That's the rule.
I'm just surprised he's on here knowing that the game is coming on. But go ahead, Chris.
Anyway, I'm a little distracted because I can literally hear Deuce woofing down a bag of Doritos in my ear.
What are you doing? Whatever Deuce is doing.
Get the damn microphone away from your bag of Doritos. I'm tired of hearing it. Anyway.
I'm licking his fingers in the background while I'm talking.
Yeah, just be glad that doesn't get recorded. Anyway, like we were saying, I seen her just the other day celebrating that how good of a time she had catching regular sized perch.
And the catfish that I got an award for. Perch are actually probably one of my very close second to largemouth bass.
I've seen a lot of perch. I have seen her post perch.
I love them. Crappie are like phenomenal. Catfish, I will say to you, I love the fight, but they're just so gross. Like I cannot get the slime off my hands. It's all over my board. It's all over my pants. And I'm just like, why do we have to be so dirty? Right. I mean, I don't mind getting dirty, but like you just cannot get rid of anything from a catfish.
Oh yeah.
I will be very honest and admit I do still have a fear of pike, only because I got my hand caught in their gill plate years back. And I literally had like a box of Band-Aids on my hands, which was stupid because at that point it was just like, this is worthless. I'm learning to appreciate them. And I try to not let them control the fear that I have of them because I do want to appreciate them for what they're worth. But I'm also afraid of hurting them because I know that I need to get them back in the water quickly. I want to get them back in the water quickly because I want to make sure that they're okay and they're safe and they're like going back home, so to speak. But I don't only target largemouth at all. I mean, I think that you guys
I didn't say you only target them, but you
said I love them.
Yeah, you're obsessed with them. There's no denying.
I'm not obsessed with them. Okay. They're a beautiful creature, right? I mean, if you look in their eyes, if you actually look at them instead of just throwing them back like a lot of people do, like they're nothing, right? So that irritates me too. I mean, these fish, while we're fighting them, right? If they're average 2 to 3 pounds, it's like they're running a marathon and you're just tossing them back in like they mean nothing. That's not really kind of fair, right? I mean, you ever train for a marathon? You ever train for some kind of race and the amount of work and effort you put into it, and people just toss them.
They're not doing. Have you ever caught a hybrid?
I have not.
The
But that's
bass are
not the
doing
question.
no effort. They're just doing no. We're going to take you to
Chris,
catch a
oh my
hybrid.
gosh,
It's going
this
to
is the
change your
problem.
life.
He's
What
just
do you mean they're doing nothing?
he's saying this just to get a rise out of you, and you're taking the bait. He's fishing you right now.
I like bass. They're cool. They're abundant. I get it. Whatever.
No. Hold on. It's not about their abundancy. So if you look at a bass and you look at their eyes, every single one of those bass tell a story, right? So
That's any fish, though. If you look at a bass and look at a trout, a bass is hideous.
No. Their eyes are completely different. They tell a completely different story.
They look like black dead marbles, their eyes. What is she talking about?
I gotta be honest.
And she's telling me she's
right
not
now
in
on
love
the
with
camera?
bass. She's in love with a bass's eyes.
I'm starting to I don't agree with Joe often, but he's starting to bring me back to his side.
She's
because
obsessed.
you sound like you're writing a romance novel with bass or something.
No.
I usually I whisper to them like I could kill you and eat you right now, and then I put them back and I let them swim away.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's rewind. Because nobody actually even asked me why I started fishing. But I actually have a Bachelor of Science in marine biology. So I have a certain and a different appreciation scientifically for any creature of the water. And you have to understand that I look at it a little bit differently in the sense of a blessing when I do actually catch a fish. And it's not a romance novel, but there's a sense of clarity in fishing, right? It's not just about being a winner. It's not just about catching all of these species, but it's about learning and understanding what each one of these species actually do. And when you could catch these species all on the same setup, all on the same kind of lure, and don't change lures to try to target something specific, it changes everything.
You know what? I like that. That's actually kind of like, and when we fish a lot of the times, like if you saw we were talking about like going out with Chuck Manny and trying to catch as many species as possible in one trip. Yeah. It's like a challenge to yourself. And we keep it fun, and it's like we're all having a great time. And you just made me think like that'd be a pretty cool challenge for yourself. Like you're out there by yourself, and a challenge to yourself. You get one lure, and you see how many different species you could catch on that one lure. You're not allowed to use anything else.
That's actually what I do. So I don't know which one of you guys posted one of the last posts that I had commented that like I'd rather take the baby and leave grandma alone. So meaning the fish, right?
Not me.
Yeah. It was probably Deuce. Deuce goes on there and makes weird comments.
It's mostly Deuce.
So anyway, I love the Ned rig, and it is probably one of the only things I use. And I
have not caught a fish on a Ned rig yet. It's like the only thing I cannot catch a fish on.
Tell him why. I know you know why. Tell him why. It's true.
No. That's an absolute, because you have absolutely no patience for what you have to do with it.
Tell him.
There's no patience.
A Senko.
He's doing too much, right?
You're doing way too much.
I guaranteed. That's why.
Way too much. So my life is full speed, 100 miles an hour, always, right? No sense of calm, no sense of peace. So when I go out on the water, people say to me, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You only use the Ned rig." But that is the one place where I could actually just be one with the water, right? And just like take any energy, any excitement. And there's actually times, Chris, with you saying that, there's times where I'm reeling it too fast. I may be like moving it too quickly and I'm not getting anything. And then I remind myself, like, slow down.
Do you always throw the same color? Do you change colors?
No, I used to always only throw PB&J. But I am expanding the horizon in noticing that like this year I started doing a lot more like with targeting panfish and smaller size fish. And I realized coloration of things. The last time I was at a specific location, I noticed a lot of dragonflies were landing on my kayak and my rod. So I wound up changing to a color that was very similar to them. And then I started catching fish. So I start trying to pay attention to maybe not necessarily what the fish are biting underneath, but what's going on in the world around me and the air around me, to change the color to see what they would be biting.
Now, what about the weight? Because I talked to some people, they want the lightest possible Ned head, and then you talk to somebody else, they want the heaviest possible Ned head.
So I use pretty heavy. Mine is 3/16 owner, and then I just use the regular size Ned rig, but mine sinks pretty quickly.
And do you ever catch fish on the drop or no?
I do.
I do. So
yeah.
Even though it's sinking that fast, they still grab it on the drop.
They do. But I will tell you, most of the hits are on the ground. When it's a smaller fish, so ironically enough, it seems that the smaller fish are the ones that hit it on the drop. So I don't necessarily catch them on the drop, but I wind up changing to a smaller setup and a different rod and reel setup to start targeting them when I notice that's happening. But the larger fish, including the catfish and most of the pike, I have caught or when it's on the bottom.
Gotcha. All right, I'm going to ask you one last question, then I got to get ready because I want to go watch Jet game.
Oh, wait, so you're rushing me to have this opportunity to talk to you because of the Jet game? Yeah,
you're out of here. We'll go. We'll take you fishing now. We'll talk more.
I can't wait to see what terrible thing happens to the Jets because Joe wore that hat.
Okay. I'm not going to ask how old you are on the podcast. I'd imagine you're somewhere in the same ballpark as us. But
45. You don't have to ask.
Yeah, you're in our ballpark. You just shot your first deer of your entire life. How do you compare that to like catching the biggest bass of your entire life?
So I actually shot that buck last year. So it was a 1 year anniversary from when I posted it.
You waited 1 year to post the picture of the buck too, which is pretty weird.
It's not weird. I wanted to appreciate the moment of what it was worth. Appreciate the food that it provided to me and my family. And I wasn't here to shoot that buck for social media and for people to congratulate me. I was there to shoot that buck for something that was special to me and a moment that I always wanted in my life.
Do you feel, is that how you really feel though? Do you feel that if we put a picture up that we're like beating our chest over it? Like,
I don't feel people are beating their chest over it, but that was one thing I noticed too in my life, that I had to do it right away. And I was doing it right away. I was doing it right away for the world to see, but I was losing focus on what that moment meant to me. So I take the moment and I sit with the moment. And when I'm ready for the moment to be is when I share it. And oddly enough, that buck was actually shot on my father's birthday, which is the day before my birthday. And growing up in a family where my dad was a hunter and fished, youngest of 3 girls, my father never let me get my hunting license, never let me get any kind of firearm, nothing. Wouldn't let me go to any classes with him because he said if I shot something in the field with him, I was going to cry. And if I cried, I was going to embarrass him. So he didn't want me to do that when I was with him. So fast forward to me being 43, one day shy of 44 last year. And I shot that buck and I got to call my dad and say, happy birthday, Dad. I got my first buck. So there's absolutely no comparison. Because we didn't get into why I started fishing, because you have to go watch the game. But there's a relativity with my dad and I. With
we could hear why you want to why
I started fishing with also that experience with my first buck and my father. So
was your father right? Did you end up crying when you shot the buck?
I did not. I did not cry
because it is very, very emotional. I mean, it's
so. I didn't cry when I shot him. I was worried to make sure that we got him and that like he didn't suffer in the moment of anything, right? And it didn't bother me till later on when I went to go to lay down that night. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I wonder what his mom is thinking. Like,
his mom ain't thinking anything. His mom doesn't have a brain big enough to even remember she has anything.
I mean, you don't know, but that's
where deer's mom?
I mean, they have the brain. They don't have their memory lasts like 48 minutes.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, look, they raise their young. They're all instincts. You know, you can have respect. You can have respect for the animal without having like emotional attachment to every animal. That, you know what I mean.
I've seen Chris shoot at one, miss it by 3 inches, and it run away and come back 20 minutes later only to be shot again. So, I mean, their memory is just not that good.
Well, the crossbow wasn't working right.
All right, so let's hear how you started fishing, and we'll miss Aaron Rodgers. So you can't complain to me.
Don't let him make you feel bad. Let's hear the story.
So when I was younger, my oldest sister's 6 foot tall. So like there's a huge difference. I'm only 5'4". So like I was always by my dad because like my sisters were always mad at me, right? And at the end of every day, we would sit down and watch Discovery Channel when it was like real, right? And they actually had actual people fishing, and they had the books and the field guides, and they would look at it. Yeah. And we were watching some fishing show, and this guy caught a fish on a boat, and he took his field guide out of his back pocket and looked at it. Under his name said marine biologist. And I looked at my dad and I said, that's going to be me someday. I'm going to go to school and be a marine biologist. And then that's just what I did. I took extra classes in high school for science. And then I went straight out of high school into college under marine bio. Got my degree, and then I couldn't find a job, and then my car died, and my dad's like, well, either like figure this out, you need to get a job because I'm not helping you with the car. So instead of moving to like Boston or Florida, I stayed and bought my car, and then I got a job, and then that was it. And then I gave up fishing for a long time. In 2018, I got picked with the lottery to run the New York City Marathon, and my doctor was like, you need to find something because like training for this marathon is going to like put you in the ground. And I was like, well, I used to fish. And he's like, okay, you need to start fishing again. And then that's actually why I started fishing again.
Have you ever had any interest in saltwater at all, or it's always been freshwater only?
Freshwater. My dad always took me freshwater fishing. I took my son once saltwater fishing, but it's always just been freshwater. There's just a peace and a calm in freshwater. Like I know saltwater, there's some of it that could be calm, but it's kind of like a lot. And I just feel like I need peace.
See, I feel like the way that you're talking about like your water world and all your feelings like out on the ocean, like really out there, like I feel like you would love that shit.
I probably would, but I just never had the chance to go. And I never took my kayak. I used to surf, and I actually used to paddle out and sit in the lineup and actually just watch other people go in and surf and look at all the chaos on the shore and hear nothing and see nothing but the water surrounding me. So
I took my kayak saltwater fishing one time.
How did that work out?
I caught a fluke, but the entire time that I was there, I was just thinking about the Discovery Channel great white sharks, how they hit this. I was waiting.
Not New Jersey.
I swear,
get out of here,
dude. I swear to God, the whole time in my kayak, all I thought about was a shark just flipping it over. And when I got in, I said, never again, no more saltwater with the kayak.
You have no idea of the paranoias that go on in this guy's head. You have no idea.
Wait, I can't even believe this.
All right, we're out of time. We're going to watch the Jet game. Rachel, we're going to go fishing eventually with Jen Wong, and we're going to make a video. It's going to be funny as hell.
Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or mention or
plug your stuff too, your channel?
I mean, listen, my Naqua has been amazing to me for all my battery power on and off the water. I have to say that they're just truly amazing company.
Who is it? Can you say it again?
Naqua,
okay.
Nocqua. And also Evolve Fishing. They are phenomenal. Their rod sleeves are neoprene, and if your rod is in it and you drop it in the water, it will actually float. So they've saved me numerous times on the water in many different ways, whether you're on the shore or on a kayak or on a boat. It's pretty nice knowing that as long as you have it on, if you're not using it, right, you're good to go.
Oh, and what is your exact Instagram tag? Because I'm sure people watching this are going to want to follow you.
And you messed it up.
I didn't mess it up. I just didn't.
No, you messed it up. You messed it up.
I'm giving you an opportunity to do it correctly.
He messes everything up. That's fine.
It's RJW_my_marine_world.
All right. What is
and
that?
Also the 13th species was me that you guys caught. I'm not going to lie. Last reel.
No, it was a banded rudderfish.
Yeah.
And it was a 14th.
Joe's not even paying attention. He didn't even see any of the comments.
That's not my post. It's Chris's something.
But you need to pay attention to these things.
It's
Support.
his Okay. So RJW _ something Marine World.
My Marine World.
My Marine World. Follow her on Instagram. Hopefully, we're going to take her fishing soon with Jen Wong. I know we've been promising for a while to get them out on the boat together. Rachel, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and talk to us. I know we're boring.
Oh, it's amazing. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on, putting up with Joe.
Oh, he said goodbye. He usually does.
No, I just thanked her for putting up with you.
All right, now you have to click the little red circle to leave, or Deuce has to kick you out.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Right, take care.
49ers.
Oh, God.
There you go. And that's what you leave with.
I just got a text message. McCaffrey's not playing. The 49ers have no chance in hell. Deuce, who's the guest next week? Because we're leaving now.
Next week we got Pete. I'm not sure how to say his last name. Pete Garunto.
Pete Garunto. He's a new up-and-coming content creator. He's trying to do some stuff. You know how the podcast forum's always been an open forum. Welcome to anyone who'd like to come on the podcast, and Pete took advantage of it. So Pete's coming on the podcast.
Right, and I also want, we asked Rachel because she's friends with Jen, and that's how you met her, and we met her and stuff.
No, I did. At the time I met her, I didn't even know Jen.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. The point.
It just happened to be later on in life. They were friends. It's just a coincidence.
It doesn't matter. The point is, like, we're glad to have all anglers on here. I mean,
sure.
No matter what your experience level is, whether you've been fishing your whole life, like Rachel, stopped for a little bit, came back to it, whatever your story is. Pete coming on next week. I don't know how long he's been fishing. Or, he's got his social media accounts he's trying to make into fishing, these fishing social media accounts. Whatever it is, we say it every time and we mean it. If you want to come on the podcast, whether we ask you, whether we don't ask you, you could ask us. Your friend could recommend you, whatever it is. The goal of this podcast really is to get as many anglers as possible on here, and hunters, any outdoorsmen, community, sharing their experiences, sharing whatever it is they want to talk about, letting other anglers hear what they have to talk about, and whatever else.
But if you look at the community, like Jen Wong, like we barely knew him, now we fish with him all the time. Thomas Wyatt came up from the Pine Barrens to go hybrid fishing with me and Max. That's a new friend. There's just so many new. Chuck Manny, we never fished with him before this. Now we fish with him all the time. Jerry Zagorski, Joe Zagorski. It's if you get involved, and it's annoying. I was one of those people that I didn't want to get involved in anything, but now I realize the more that you do get involved, the more people you meet. And the more friends that you make, the more shit that you learn. And the more that you learn from each one of these guys and start to put each little thing from each one together, it makes you a better fisherman.
Right. The more you're going to get out of it. And, that's why we did this, right? It's like njfishing.com, the forum.
Max is going to make fun of you for saying that.
Why?
Because he always does. And that's why we made this podcast.
And that's why Max got fired after 2 episodes.
Max is currently fired also.
So anyway, like njfishing.com forum. It's a community. It's you can go back there and look at the posts. The podcast is the same thing. It's just in a different format. You can go back there and look at anyone's episode that's done it. What was this? Episode 71? Whatever it is.
This is episode njfishing.com and this podcast and Mayhem are very highly intertwined with each other. Jerry doesn't really like the drama. Me and you will let the drama go in Mayhem, but most likely if you're a member of Mayhem, you're probably a member of NJF by now. If you're not, I don't know why you wouldn't be.
Yeah. But I mean, the point is it's the same. It's the same idea of this community and these recordings. The forum has posts from all these guys. Oh, let me see what Sax said about carp, like, and you can search it and you can look and see these, like, all these little tips and stuff. You can go back in the episodes and see, oh, let me see what Chuck Manny has. Oh, he's got 2 episodes. Let me listen to him and see how he does this striper fishing. See if I can pick up on anything, kind of listen to what he has to say. It's the same concept, just a different format. And that's why we do it.
Yes, I agree. And, as more and more people get involved, it just keeps to continue to get better and better.
Yeah, and I'm glad that any form of angler, like I said, Pete, younger guy with the social media account, bring it on. Just like Sky, Uncle Larry Outdoors, you got in the opposite direction, you got Chuck, a veteran guy, been doing it for all, like, best striper fisherman on the East Coast,
But also, you got, I feel like you're kind of giving something back. Like, everyone's not going to ever have the chance to fish on Chuck Manny's boat. That's just, it's not logical, but now you could go on YouTube and watch what it's like to fish on Chuck Manny's boat. Maybe you could try to replicate what Chuck Manny does on your own boat if you watch the video. So it's almost like kind of giving something back in a way. So the pictures and videos are kind of rewarding. But yeah, so next week it is, who is it? I forgot already who it is.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Is it Taylor Stewart? No.
Guy, anyone listening to this, he's dead serious. He doesn't even do this as a shtick. He actually forgot.
To think that Max used like Post-it notes to do the episode. I've done 71 episodes without, like, even looking at a note.
Maybe you should start taking a couple of notes.
Who is it?
It's Pete Grunto. I'm not.
Oh, Pete. I just said that. Okay, we're going to the Jet game time. It's too late. Good night, everyone. We'll be back next week.
Take care. Maybe Joe will remember something then. Suffer for the fish.
I doubt it. Suffer the fish, yes.